Welcome home, everybody, to episode 275 of the My DVC Points podcast. We are in our live pre-show today. And so at this point in time, we give everybody a chance to get notified and the algorithms to do their deal and to get people on board and watching. And so we do a little time killer here called pre-show chat. If you're watching on YouTube, you can go ahead. If you're watching a replay on YouTube, let me clarify that one. You can go ahead and skip to the next marker and it will be the actual start of the show. Because what we're talking about here is just when are you guys going home next? It's a little community building and a little time to get everybody tuned in and watching up. So Gina, why don't you lead us off here? When are you going home next?
Oh my gosh, now that I own at these Disneyland Hotel Tower thing, I'm going all the time. It's crazy. I'm like, oh, I forgot that one. Oh, I forgot that one. Oh, I forgot that one. So 2 days I will be staying at the Villas at Disneyland Hotel for the Run Disney. Now I'm doing the 10K. I'm walking it, but I'll be there and I have a bunch of people coming in and I'm super excited to see them. And that's in 2 days. And then Moonlight Magic's in 19 days. And I'm on reservations, but I'm not going to stay because I do have to work. So I'm on Christy's reservation for Grand Cal, but I'm not going to stay. And then we have Ron Shamit's birthday here, in 53 days. So I will be joining for that. I don't know if I'm on a reservation or not, but I'll just go and come and go as I please. And then in 84 days, I'm doing a cruise out of San Diego for the Baja. It's a really cool itinerary. It's Catalina Island, Baja, California, and then back to San Diego. And that's for my spring break.
Nice quick one.
Yeah. And then in 158 days, I'll be doing Vero Beach because I've never done that. So I'm going to do Vero. And then I'm getting on the Magic for the DCL Duo cruise. And then I'm doing Walt Disney World for 4 nights after that. That's a big June trip. That's my summer trip. Then in 201 days, Chad's bringing the fam and we're going to Disneyland. So I'll be back at Disneyland. I'm on that reservation. So I will be parking, hopefully, if I can get that under control, be parking on the roof. And then we're doing the big Grand Villa in 275 days. I'm super excited for that. And that will be here in California. And I'm staying for a couple nights and then I have to work. So I'm going home and, I'll do.
Yeah, that's a listener meetup. We had one of our team members get a Grand Villa for the weekend, invited a bunch of us from the team here and said, we're going to host a My DVC Points meetup in a Grand Villa at Disneyland Hotel.
So I'm not crying about that.
Yep. Pete and I will both be there. So
super excited.
Yeah. So we're excited about that.
And then the week after that, it's my big golden 50th birthday. So I'll be in Disneyland. I'll be in Walt Disney World, staying in the cabins. And that starts in 288 days on my birthday. And I don't know when the meetup is, probably that Saturday. And that'll be at the cabins. Then, because I own at Disneyland Hotel, I can book a year out or 11 months out. And I booked Candlelight Procession. And that's it, folks. That's what I've got on the books.
My list is like 90% a ditto what Gina said. So
but he has extra in Florida.
Yeah, I some of those I don't even count. Like it's too, it's
no, these are staying in the hotel. I have a reservation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean it's literally 16 minutes from garage to Epcot parking lot. So I can't count all that. That's just crazy. Pete, I know you just did a whirlwind tour of 9 trips in 2 years to Walt Disney World.
Yeah, and 5 this year. My wife was down there 6. We're minus 5 days from Bay Lake Tower. We were picking up our daughter from the college program, so we've been down there a bunch. So right now we have Disney World booked for similar to Gina's. We'd be overlapping with Gina's 50th birthday. I don't know if we'll be there. I don't think we'll be there on her 50th, but so about 295 days till that trip. If we do it, we're not even 100%, but it's booked. That's our annual food and wine trip. And then the bigger one really is about 135 days. We have 9 days at the Disneyland Hotel with our mostly with our Disneyland Hotel points, but the last couple nights I was able to snag with my other points to extend the trip to 9 nights there at the Disneyland Hotel. So we're going to be visiting Disneyland. We're going to probably go to the San Diego Zoo a couple days in the Wild Animal Park. And I told my daughter we would also go up to Universal Hollywood. She really wants to
Yay.
see Nintendo World. So we're
She'll
going to
love
check
it.
that out as
She'll love it.
well. So that's that trip. And then, of course, Gina mentioned the upcoming in October, the Disneyland Hotel stay at the Grand Villa. And Chad and I are going to be roomies.
Yep. So, Tim, what about you, buddy? What's on your vacation plans here? When are you coming home?
In February, which I think is next month. My wife and I are going to Saratoga for a few days. Mostly just to hang out. I don't think we may not even go into the parks. It's been a while since I've done that. We might just kind of bum around for a few days. But so we've got that, and then at the end of May, I've got a room at the boardwalk booked that I think we're going to come down for, and probably December again. We'll see what else I can squeeze in there.
Yeah, I actually have a new tool that I started playing with right before the show. So it's not like customized yet with like photos, but these are just some of the things that we've mentioned tonight. And I'm actually going to keep rolling with this. I think we might start with this one and then everybody just raise their hand and go, I'm in on that one. Might go a little quicker, right?
I'm not doing the Alani family vacation, but I am doing the end part. I'm doing the end part, the villas.
Yeah, you're doing the villas at Disneyland part. And then we've got the meetup and I don't even have the cabin on here from Fort Wilderness yet. Okay. So, or I mean at Copper Creek cabin.
Copper Creek cabin.
But I'm going to play with this tool a little bit more and we'll see how it goes. So, and then let's come into some of the viewers. Patricia will be here in 7 days. She's coming to Old Key West. Caleb has got 65 days for a Riviera for 5 nights and then the Dream and then back to Polly.
Oh, awesome.
That is the dream vacation there, Caleb. DVC, DCL, DVC.
Beautiful.
Like, I guess you kind of settled the debate. Do we take our cruise before or after our Walt Disney World trip? Right. And Holly's got 79 days to Walt Disney World, but they're staying off property because they'll be going to 8 nights at a 2-bedroom in Alani and 318 days over Thanksgiving.
Wish I could make that work. I would love to go with them to Alani that week.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And we knew they were going to be Alani addicts. We called that one after their first visit there. And Caleb's coming back for our Vero 3-night meetup. And then on the Magic with the DCL duo and all of that cruise and all of our friends there.
Yeah, because Caleb's now my brother. That's what we're doing. We vacation together now.
Yep. We're all 3 because I've been to Disneyland and Disney World with his family. So And so Nick here is saying, hey, cuties, 37 days to Grand Cal, 92 days to Disneyland Hotel, and 4 more Disney stays on the books, but no one can beat Gina. So
they'll be with me at many of these stays.
And so, no, we are just now announcing that Disneyland meetup tonight, I think for the first time, right?
Yeah.
It kind of came about at the end of December-ish, and this is our first live show before then. So, okay, we are all caught up on the comments. Gina, do you want to clear the banners and I'll drop everybody down?
Sure.
And we'll get this thing rolling. Welcome home, neighbors, to episode 275 of the My DVC Points podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at DVCResaleMarket.com. If you're looking to buy or sell a contract, our friends at DVC Resale Market can help you find a buyer lickety-split, or if you're looking for a contract, they sell 60% of the listings on the market today. They have the largest listings, the largest selections, and the best website out there for buying DVC. It is hands down the best website. And I can tell you that because you can sort by contract. You can use their app and it can text you whenever a contract that rare 75-pointer or 50-pointer at Beach Club pops up in your use year. It can send you that notification. They have really, truly put a lot of money into their technology and into their website, and it really helps you out as a DVC member looking to buy or sell. DVCResaleMarket.com. Let them know you heard about them here on the My DVC Points podcast. In today's show, we are talking a little bit fact, and we probably were going to get into a little speculation today. And I want to just say right up front, speculation shows are not on brand for me or any of my guests today. We all take a lot of pride in creating educational, informational, and organizing DVC content for the member community. So take the speculation stuff with a grain of salt and don't quote us on this, because it is everything we know about the DVC cabins that are coming up here at Fort Wilderness. But as you're going to see, our buddy Tim has done a lot of sleuthing to come up with this, and Pete started to put some of it on his site as well. So let me welcome to the show Tim Krasniewski from DVC News. Welcome, Tim.
Hey, Chad. How you doing?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for joining us today. We're all kind of like loving on your articles and things that you've got going here as well. And then let's bring up our own nerdy analyst information person. That would be Pete from DVC Newscast and also DVCHelp.com. So guys, welcome to the show tonight.
This is awesome. I'm finally getting to meet Tim, and his site is so good. Like, that's partly why on DVC Help we don't do news, is because his site is so good I couldn't even compete.
Yeah, well, I mean, half the time when we're reading an article, it's from Tim's research on the newscast anyways, but we always give him a shout out, right? We're not going to be those content creators that, you know, ninja your work, Tim. So that's not going to be us. Like, not here, not.
I knew that.
So
no, you don't.
And let's come back in, and I'm just going to start to share some screen here because we've got some really good stuff. I'll just start with Pete's site here, and we've got Pete. I think you've got one page up on this so far. I don't even have anything up on this or Disneyland Tower on my wiki, and I own Disneyland Tower, so there's no excuse for that. But your research came up with 350 units for this. I think there's 363 now that are there. And do we think they're going to build some of these units and just not put them into DVC to keep them for cash? Because the cabins are really popular.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've seen 350. I've seen 352. I don't think I've actually seen 363. Have you, Tim? That's how many they're going to have?
I think officially Disney's been kind of cagey and maybe used words like around 350 or over 350 or something like that. So I could certainly see that happening. You know, the cabins, there seems to be a lot of cabin fans who are disappointed that it's going into DVC, and you know, as we all know, there's going to remain rooms available to book by cash guests, but we don't really know what those numbers are going to look like.
Yeah, we don't know how many they're keeping out, what percentage, even if they are DVC, that they're going to hold. Traditionally, don't they hold around 2% of the inventory for cash at all times anyways in every resort?
Right. I believe they have to by contract keep 2% out.
Yeah, which is good for us because it creates a market for our products, and it creates like a rack rate for it that we have as a comparison. So I kind of like that part of it.
But 2% of 350 is 7. So it's not many cabins if that's what they actually do. Now, anytime Disney, comes up with a new location, they only declare a portion of it. And I know Tim on his site talks about what their initial declaration is kind of planned to be. So initially they'll probably declare, I don't know, 40, 50 cabins, and the rest.
I think there were 30. The first filings actually had 30.
Yeah. Okay.
So initially it'll just be 30 of so less than 10%.
Yeah. So it'll take a while before there's limited cash availability. They'll have to sell a lot of the points. And I still don't have a good feel for how fast this is going to sell.
Right.
I think it'll be like Disneyland. The initial interest is going to go from people who are in and on it. But then I think it's like, we don't know enough about the trust and the 11-month booking, but assuming that they have an 11-month booking here and you only get one cabin, maybe your choice is, dog allowed or dog not allowed in your booking preferences. But as we look at the campgrounds here, right here's the road that we all come in on, and here's the stables and the buses that will take you back to Hoop-de-Doo, which is way back here. But I believe this area right here is all the existing cabins right now.
Right.
That I'm kind of circling with my mouse.
Yep.
And Tim, your research said that they were going to do like 2,200 or 2,300 was the first declaration.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, they're divided up into loops, and you can see the numbers on the diagram there that indicate what how the cabins are numbered.
Yeah, so that's an interesting part, but they're definitely loops, and I could see where the loops make sense, and just keeping them. Man, if they were to just declare one loop at a time, that'd make life easy. At least for us, knowing what was available to us. They don't have to follow that as well, but
right.
It kind of makes sense to just declare a loop at a time.
Yeah, that's probably how they'll do it, or a portion. It's a little easier than when you're talking about but even so, they normally, for most resorts, obviously they're buildings, right? And they will declare a portion of the building, and there are specific rooms that they declare, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to put you in those rooms.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So even here, if they declare one particular loop, it doesn't mean that you would necessarily be in that loop. They're gonna put you in, in a room, in a cabin that's available, not just it has to be that loop.
Yeah, it would be nice maybe if they did like a couple of loops as a booking section, so that you could book one section, kind of like the preferred versus standard, or carriage park versus carousel, or the paddock over at Saratoga Springs. It'd be nice.
It'll be interesting to see if they have a booking category for like close to the pool, or I don't know. I don't know Fort Wilderness that well, but I know there's a pool in that area that's part of the declaration. So
that would be
close
this
to the
pool right here.
I don't know if there's like close to the main, like,
none of them look close to the main building to me,
right?
Because the main building is way up here.
None of it's near the building. None of it's near the dock, really.
Yeah, it's like this is the campground pool and tennis courts, but then you've got to come way up here,
right,
to go to the dock and to the trading post and over here to Hoop-de-Doo.
Yeah, and I know there used to be 2 cabins up by the trading post,
right?
But we don't know if they'll still be there,
or if they'll. I think when the original permits were filed, when they were going to start renovations on it, I think that the diagrams included with that did show those cabins. They're right about where your mouse is now, Chad. They're just kind of a little bit to the lower left of that, I think.
Like right in here?
Yeah, maybe a little more to the right. Whatever starts on that road right there. But yeah, I mean, it's odd that I wish we had a Fort Wilderness cabin historian who could tell us why they ended up with 2 or 3 cabins way over there and the rest of them are way down on the other side of the resort. But I think that the filings, to get back to my point, I think that the filings did include updating those cabins up there. Now, if we're talking about some cabins not being part of Disney Vacation Club, those would be a prime candidate since they're so remote. So if Disney was going to keep something for cash, that would be an option. Or they could be, it would be tough to put 2 cabins in a separate booking category, because then if you have maintenance issues or something like that, people get booted out of that pretty easily.
I don't know the history behind it, but I had read somewhere that they would often use those cabins for Disney employees, higher up Disney employees to take vacations or travel or things like that, that those typically weren't necessarily always available for booking.
Gotcha.
Kind of like the Grand Villa at Aulani. The Disney executives book that out a lot.
Right.
And that's where they stay when they're there. And okay, well, interesting stuff. But so far we know we've got floor plans have come out. And Tim, you've done a great job pulling these out of the filings and getting them up here on the website for us. it looks like they're going to be 12 foot wide, almost 43 foot long. And there'll be an attached wood deck to these. 1 bedroom. And we've seen other photos where that bedroom will have bunk beds and like the, is it a double bed or a queen bed in the bedroom?
I believe it's a queen.
Okay. So you've got bunk beds and a queen in here. And then you've
Right.
got this Murphy bed right here in the living room.
Right.
That'll pull down into a double bed. So they will
Yeah.
sleep 6.
And to point out, that bedroom, if you look on those charts, is only 11 by 12. So you have a queen bed and 2 bunk beds in an 11 by 12 room. It's going to be a very tight room.
Sure.
It's going to be tight, right? It's definitely going to be tight. And
in fairness, I believe that mirrors the look of the existing cabins, the ones that they're replacing, the layout of it, that the bed, that separate bedroom even now has the bed plus the bunk beds. So it's a design that fans of the cabins are familiar with, at least. We could probably do a whole show on debating alternate layouts for the cabins.
doors are a beautiful thing at DVC is all I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, honestly, I'm almost a little surprised they didn't do like a couple different designs for the cabins, like to have here's the family design can sleep 6. Here's another design that maybe only sleeps 4 or something like that. If you want to book and you don't need those extra bunk beds, you would have that option. Now, maybe that's too much of a pain for them to do, but it might have been a selling point.
Yeah, maybe. And Tim, let's zoom in on this area here. So this bathroom, that looks like that's your closet right in there.
No, I believe that's a walk-in shower.
Okay, that's a walk-in shower.
Near as I can tell, it does not have a tub. I believe it's just one of those large, walk-in tile shower deals that even they've been doing in DVC studios these days. I think the right above where your mouse is, I think that's just a hot water tank and a closet there. But
that's what I was a little bit shocked at, because at my house, a couple miles away, I have natural gas and I have an external boil on demand heater on the outside of the house, and it's wonderful.
Okay. Yeah.
And very fuel efficient. And I'm kind of shocked that they wouldn't go to something like that here unless they just don't have natural gas ran to the campgrounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a water heater closet. There doesn't really seem to be a closet shown anywhere in this drawing.
Right.
No.
Which is odd if you look at YouTube videos of the current cabins, they're almost sort of closet overload. There's weird cubbies and storage places, and in the master bedroom there's a closet with like a drape and that pulls closed in front of it, and it's almost like they did a complete 180 on this. They went from closets everywhere to the photo you're looking at right now. If you look at the very right hand side of the image, you can see some kind of a dresser there with drawers. With the TV. I'm struggling to find any other storage in the room other than like ottomans and putting your suitcases under the bed and things like that.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's the latest where it's empty space under the bed and you stick your suitcases under there.
Yeah, DCL style. So that's the only thing I can figure out here as well.
Maybe there's there could be some drawers on the bottom of the bunk bed there. Maybe something that pulls out that's kind of hidden by the queen.
Yeah, it could be.
That's a possibility, but it's the storage looks a little on the thin side for 6 people, theoretically.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at this kitchen going, I guess you're going to sit at the kitchen table and watch TV, because the TV would have to be across from here in the living room, or no, the TV's right there.
The TV's right there. Yeah.
Kingdom.
So the people sitting on that
spot to watch TV from the couch, right?
Right. So the people sitting on that couch are going to really be craning their necks.
And they're not going to be like laying down in bed watching TV either. So
no.
but I guess if we look at the concept art, Let me see if I can find it on another one of your write-ups here, Tim. They got 2 sliding glass windows there, so there's really no spot for the TV to be there because they've made
And
it
one of those is the door in the glass panes there. I think the pane on the far left might be the door into the unit.
yeah. But it doesn't look like there's a washer and dryer in the room, which is odd
No.
for a 1-bedroom for DVC. But we know that they have laundry by the pool, and because we saw that on some of the other drawings.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty clear there's no washer dryer in the unit.
Yeah, so that's just interesting, right? Because it's like restrooms and laundry right here on the pool that they declared.
Yeah.
As part of the condo association. So and then we've got this pet policies deal. Let's move on over to that because it sounds to me like we've got some love for Pluto, but Figaro, you out, Cat. Like no room for you.
I tease Disney for its anti-cat bias, and they continued it with these cabins.
It just
the documents that they filed. A lot of this information is coming from filings with Orange County. Since it's a timeshare, and there's a lot more regulations, things that have to be filed before they officially go on sale. And it lists the pet policies, and it specifically addresses dogs. I believe individuals can have up to 2 dogs in a unit. There's no weight restriction, which I thought was interesting.
Is there breed restrictions? Like, can you bring your Rottie or Pit Bull or?
Nope. I don't think there's any of that. There is a lot of restrictions in terms of where you can take your dog.
Sure.
So, because it has to be, if it's outside the cabin, it has to either be on a leash or in a pet carrier.
Right.
Which I think is reasonable.
Can't have it in public spaces, no food and beverage locations, no pool.
Yeah, can't take it to the pool or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I guess, Pete, if you think about it, how often do you see a cat on an airplane?
No, I just joke. I mean, I wouldn't bring my cats to Disney, anyways, but I just, I'm sure there are people that there are people that do. I mean, I'm sure there's people with campers that are staying there that have cats in their campers, but it's not so much a thing people tend to do when they're renting a space as they do with their dogs. So,
but this is some interesting research here, Tim. Fully trained, not allowed on the furniture. Yeah, let me know how that works out for you.
Yeah,
sure.
They're going to be all up on it, and they're not permitted food and beverage. They cannot be left unattended for more than 7 hours.
And how do you police that?
Sure.
And guess what? Dogs must contact housekeeping to schedule a room cleaning. What about all of the gun checks and safety checks and all that other stuff? They have to schedule that as well. How's that going to work out?
Well, it also says that you have they're going to put door hangers on there that you have to use if you have a dog in the room. So presumably they're not going to enter the room if your door hanger's out and you aren't present.
Yeah, I mean, they do have big glass fronts on them, so I suppose maybe they're thinking that they can just peer in through the glass.
Yeah.
Good no. Who knows, right? It's let's pick up a couple of our comments here as well. So Gina is thinking, do you think they'll sell more guaranteed weeks? I believe that will happen here because guaranteed weeks are pretty popular. You guys,
I would think so, because from what I hear, the cabins are very popular as an annual sojourn that people go every year for Halloween, or go every year for Thanksgiving, or go every year for the holiday lights. So I think you will see a higher percentage of guaranteed weeks sell than what we've seen at a lot of the other resorts, which they sell everywhere that they've done them at, but I still think you're going to see a higher percentage here. To me, it would make a lot of sense. Again, if you're someone that I go for Thanksgiving every year to the cabins, and I want to keep doing it, and I'm going to put up the money up front so that I can, I'm going to want that week. I'm not going to want to mess around. So,
Well, if you're somebody who goes every week to the cabins and that's your thing, and it's that week every single year, DVC makes
Yeah.
perfect sense for you. You will save money over the long haul,
yeah,
right?
oh, for sure.
It's for that family, DVC is really going to make sense for it because over time they will save money. And so, okay, yeah. Caleb is saying, I wish you could drive to the cabins like the tree houses at Saratoga. Have to rent some points to get a golf cart. And
Right.
so, what do you? It says that there's going to be parking there for them. Are we not allowed to drive back to our cabins here?
I think you are allowed a vehicle at the cabins. I don't know if it's more than one or not. But
Yeah.
I do believe you are allowed a car at the cabins.
Yeah,
I think that's correct.
Yeah, that would be a bummer if you couldn't. And
Yeah.
the other odd thing
Now
is
you
going
still
to be
can't drive over to Pioneer Hall because there's no parking. So you
Right.
still would have to take a bus or rent a golf cart if you want to visit other parts of the resort. But for your actually to your unit, yeah, you'd be able to park.
Yeah, I'm with that as well. It's the odd part that's going to be is most passenger cars fit 5 people. So if you really are with 6, you're going to have to get a minivan or some type of van to be able to accommodate all 6 passengers these days. So or have 2 vehicles and there's not a parking spot for them. So you're going to have to do the shuffle from front to back and park up front. Not ideal.
Yeah.
But the tree houses sleep 9 and parking is a huge problem there. So I don't anticipate that getting it much better here. I don't know what percentage of people will need 6, but
yeah, I do think these, if you want to compare to the tree houses, I think these are a little more single family driven. The tree houses, you got 3 private bedrooms plus the living room. Here you've got 1 bedroom in the living room.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are going to be bringing. I mean, maybe grandparents or something like that. I don't want to rule it out. I don't want to dismiss it. But if you've got 6 people in the room, some of them are going to be small people.
Yeah,
Kids.
that's true. That's true. And
So
do you guys think that the annual dues will be more or less expensive than average under this trust? I'll take first shot at that. And I think they're going to be more expensive because you're talking about 360 some odd individual buildings to maintain, 365 individual buildings to heat, to cool, mainly to cool. Not a lot of heating goes on here in Central Florida, but you've still got all of the utilities from 360 something individual units where they're not like they're energy efficient in a tower arrangement. So I think that's going to cost an awful lot. I think it's going to cost a lot to maintain the grounds here. And I don't anticipate cheap dues at this place. I do not. Pete, Tim, what's your thoughts?
I agree with what you're saying, especially, and we're going to get to talking about the point price per night. And because the point price is fairly low, I think on a per point basis, the dues will be pretty, on the higher end. I wouldn't be surprised if they are. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think
Tim?
you both nailed it. I think, between the possible higher costs associated with the grounds and the units and all that, but the points are absolutely an issue too, because the one benefit to resorts with more points in theory is you've got more, the dues are spread over more points. The full cost is spread over more points. Here you've got what appear to be rooms that are on the cheaper side. So whatever the total costs are going to be spread over less money.
Yeah. And
that's a really good point because Grand Flow and Bay Lake have some really cheap dues, Tim, because they're more in Riviera as well. We're finding is because it's so point pricey.
Right.
Yep. And also I think
Old Key West is inching up every year.
I think also they're going to use this to absorb some of the operation costs of Fort Wilderness as well. So I don't think there's any way this is a low price dues.
No, I think you're right. I think we're going to see low point charts and high dues. That's That's my take on this as well. But Tim, you did some research here, and I thought it was like really, really intuitive. So let me see if I can find it. Maybe it's one of your later articles where you talk about.
I think that's it right there. You're talking about the points.
Yeah, the points.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me see if I can.
That's what I love about you, Tim. You're a numbers guy.
Yeah, that is true.
I'm such
Tim,
a
help me
numbers
out. Is
geek.
it up or down, or where am I at?
Yeah,
there it is,
have some,
right here.
I have some help too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no kidding. Shout out to Will over there that does a lot of,
who does all the sales articles, and Chris, who runs DVC.market, who loves to dig into that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, shout out to those guys as well. They are phenomenal analysts and researchers. But they came out of the documents that it was going to be 7,661 points per year to book 365 or 366 days, however that shakes out to be with leap year. I don't know if that was a leap year that they counted or not, because next year is a leap year, or this year, I guess this year is a leap year, and they're starting in 2024.
I think they usually base the numbers on a 365 year.
So if we were to divide out very simply 7,661 divided by 365,
it's basically 21 points a night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you got to figure on the low end, you're probably looking at 15, 16 points a night would be my guess. And then I don't know if you agree, Tim. And then on the high end, probably Christmas holidays, Easter, maybe Thanksgiving, you're probably upwards of, for a weekend, low 30s.
Yeah, I think 30s is about right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have. I think if you look in the article there, I compared it number wise. The total came up real close to, what was it? Maybe Grand Floridian Standard View Studio.
Yeah.
Or the value rooms at Animal Kingdom was 8,176 points a year.
That's the one bedrooms,
right?
So it's less than
Yeah, that's the one bedroom cost.
For the values.
These are essentially studio pluses. They're not a full one bedroom because there's no washer and dryer. But they sleep six.
You've got a full kitchen, you've got a private bedroom, and they sleep six. So
I challenge the word private there with bunk beds in there, but
that's true.
you definitely have a wall from two sleeping spots.
With 4 people in the room, you've got a private bedroom. How's that?
Yeah, unless they're little kids and they demand to be on the bunk beds because they're cool, right? That's what my kids would be doing.
Then mom and dad will be in the living room and not getting any privacy.
Yeah. Yep. But I think that's a really great comparison that we could look at the Animal Kingdom one bedroom value studios and go, it's going to be right about there. And
well, that's the number you're pointing at there. That's the one bedroom Animal Kingdom value. So that's the cheapest one bedroom. It's fewer points than that.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's cheaper than the cheapest one bedroom, which it should be.
Right.
It's good news though, because Chad, you and I were debating on one of the newscasts. We were saying just like last month that we thought it would be somewhere between a one bedroom and a two bedroom.
Yeah.
And now to see that it's in the range of the studios and not even the highest of the studios, I think that makes this a lot more appealing to more people. I think it will make this a lot more appealing to more people because you're talking about a lot of the times it'll be, between 100 and 150 points for a week for most of the year. And I could see people being like, okay, I can put up, $25,000.
$150 is the minimum buy-in. They can at least get a week. And the other part that I see happening here is I'm going to take my cheap dues Grand Flow points and 7 month on over to this place and really come out smelling like a rose. Okay. To use the cheap dues at a high dues resort, you come out ahead. And I could definitely see that happening as well. And
if you can buy in a fixed week for 150 points, give or take, I think that's going to be appealing to a lot of people for specific weeks, like you talked about.
I think so. And then when you talk about, even if the dues are $10 a point, and you used to be paying $500 a night or whatever these cabins were, and now you're only paying $1,500 a year, even with the buy-in. I think it'll, as I said, I think people where they go every single year, you'll get those people signing up.
Yeah.
Whether that's enough to fill this place, I don't know.
Well, we know they're super popular, and the good news is they'd be popular with point rentals as well. So I hope DVC is pointing on that. And Kyvik says, so I guess these are basically a studio plus or a 1-bedroom. They're kind of right there between them. And I think we covered Holly's comment about pet friendliness, and certain ones will be allocated for that. We hope that there's a booking category for pets and non-pets. We don't know. And
I would hope they allocate certain ones.
Yeah, I'm with Jared 100% here. He goes, I feel like they're making DVC more complicated. It should be easy. Keep it that way. I hope this is a one-off and not the new standard. Jared, I think this trust is going to be the thing to move forward, because unfortunately they're following the trend of the industry. And we didn't
even talk about the trust yet.
Danielle says you can park at least one vehicle at the cabin, and it's only one. And Linda said she stayed in the cabin about 45 years ago a number of times, and then she bought Boardwalk, and she's been there ever since. And will this turn into the on-property Vero Hilton Head niche space with high dues? Very could well. It could happen, depending on how they frame out this trust. Hopefully the trust makes it more desirable for resale. It's because they've got a big resale problem now.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know if they're putting all the points in a trust. We don't know if it's going to be part trust and part just regular, similar to what we have now. I do see them maybe doing that to alleviate the problem of resale, because one thing I look at these cabins and I go, I mean, maybe there's people out there that would do it, but like, if this is all I can stay at,
right,
you better, and if this is all my like resale buyer can stay at, I'm still
that's
saying,
what I'm saying.
No.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the problem is, I mean, a lot of people don't think that way, but we should think that way. What if I need to sell this eventually?
Think exit strategy. You buy into DVC, you have to think exit strategy.
And this is not going to be something that's going to, I think, sell particularly well on the resale market if you can only stay here. It's Riviera as it is, right? I mean, Riviera is very appealing. And it's still fairly low, relative when you look at the resale prices. It's not up there with the Grand Floridian and the Poly and the things like that, the ones that are just as nice because of that resale restriction. This is like, as I said, if I would never even consider buying this resale if it's the only place I can stay. Riviera, at least the only place I can stay is this beautiful resort that has studios and 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms and all these
and duos or whatever,
right, and all these options. And if instead all I'm buying is this, and this is my only option for the next 50 years,
I'm out.
I just don't see I don't understand how this sells for over $100 a point on the resale market.
Yeah, Danielle's making a couple of great comments here on YouTube as well. Let's bring these up. She's saying often there's hurricane cleanup maintenance with all the trees there. Even tropical storms and Category 1 hurricanes will create a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And I think later she goes, with the dues, consider storm cleanup and all the trees, possible damage in the DVC amenities and trees hitting the individual buildings. And I still, for myself, can't get past that this is a trailer park turned into a timeshare. Like I'm going to have to see the actual cabins to see that they're more than that, but that's what it feels like to me as well. And I'm like, And then I did see some comments, and this could be Vince and Amy who made these comments to me offline, that I think I align with the rumors that the trust is only because these are mobile homes and cannot be deeded real estate. That was a very good insight from somebody that's got some insurance and real estate background, that if these are truly not meeting the code requirements of fixed buildings and they're not individual units, somehow there could be a problem with deeding it and making it a timeshare. So it could really truly be the problem of the trailer park turned into a timeshare.
Yeah,
And
that was
that's what the trust
that was
is
Mark.
solving.
That was Mark Allers that made that comment.
Okay, that was Mark Allers. And okay, yeah. And yeah. Beverly here has some confidence saying that this will fill and people will take it. I think it will, because from what I gather, they're pretty popular today and they do sell out. And so I don't think that there'll be a lack of demand. I just don't know if that demand will translate over to DVC ownership. And
I guarantee they fill at 7 months.
yeah,
Right.
There's
sure.
no
Jared-
there's no doubt in me there. It's just how quickly they can sell them.
I'm right there with you. What will they do with everyone during a hurricane? Evac to where? And as somebody who built a house here in Central Florida, like, I can tell you my whole exterior is cinder block, and that cinder block is got, every fifth hole is got filled with concrete, and there's straps that go all the way down to the foundation, all the way up and wrap around the roof joist, and it's all strapped down to the ground. This place isn't going anywhere when the big bad wolf comes around. He gonna huff and puff, and this place isn't going. I hope that they have the same level of standards in construction build for these, and they're really anchored to the ground well. I can only hope. And yeah, it's okay. And Gina makes a comment. I will be very unhappy with an 11-month trust, especially if Disneyland villas are included. That we don't know what's going to go into the trust. We do know other timeshares have grouped them into a booking category. So I myself would be okay if this had a 11-month booking for the cabins, and then they were to combine it with the other resorts that are restricted, and I could 9-month into Riviera or 9-month into Disneyland Tower, and then 7-month wherever else in the network. I would be okay with that. But I would want all the Disneyland Tower peoples to be able to 9-month into Riviera and 9-month into the cabins as well. And I don't know that they're going to do that, because that would be rewriting all of our deeds.
So my understanding is any points that are going to go into the trust are going to be separate from points that are in the current system. So they could say, we're going to take 25% of the Disneyland Hotel and put those points in the trust, and then only 25% of the points at the Disneyland Hotel would be bookable with the trust. The other 75 points would remain just as they are now.
75%.
75%,
Right.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, but then that's going to get into issues, because as an owner, I bought into that knowing that there's 300 and some odd studios that I could book at 11-month. And now you're telling me 25% of those are off the table. That's
right.
Well,
but 25% of them are off the table to you, but it would be basically on any single day, there's only 75% direct owners, and those 75% direct owners have access to 75% of the resort. The 25% trust owners would only have access to 25% of the resort. It makes DVC overly complicated, but I don't think it would be unfair to direct.
Oh, I disagree
individual
wholeheartedly,
owners.
Pete. I bought knowing I would have 11 months when this thing is fully declared for 300 and some odd units. And if I don't, I'm not going to be a happy camper.
Well, okay, let's use Riviera right now as an example. So Riviera actually is 75% declared. So everybody who owns Riviera right now only has access to 75% of the rooms at the resort. If the other 25% were to go into a trust, hypothetically, the current deeded owners would only have access to the 75% that exists right now. Okay. But if the trust doesn't exist, and Riviera owners get access to 100% or 98% or whatever figure we want to use, you're adding thousands of more owners as well.
Right.
So proportionally, it's probably not going to change. I can't throw any numbers out for Disneyland Hotel off the top of my head, but if Disneyland Hotel becomes part of the trust, if it doesn't become part of the trust, you're going to add thousands and thousands and thousands of more owners at the same pace that you add more rooms. So I don't think the competition level is going to change a whole lot.
Exactly.
Well, I disagree there
11
because certain weeks are higher demand than others.
But it would
And
still be 75% of the points would be owned by owners, and 75% of the units would be bookable by the owners. So your ratio.
But I bought in when this thing was fully sold that I had 300 and something rooms I could build in 11 months. That's in my documents. And if they're not there and I don't have access to that, I'm not a happy camper. And I'm really not. Okay.
Well,
So
I agree with what Tim's saying. I think it's just imagine they built it 25% smaller, and that's what you have access to.
Yeah, but I didn't buy.
I get what you're saying. You bought
smaller.
Right. You bought this resort that has 350 rooms, but you have less competition for those rooms. Is what I'm saying.
Yep.
If the trust never touches Disneyland Hotel and they consider selling it as deeds, yes, you're going to have access to all 350 rooms, but you're going to be competing with thousands and thousands of more owners. So from a proportional standpoint, I'm not sure that it's going to change a whole lot from what you see today.
Well, I can only tell you the smaller the inventory is today, the more competition there is for it. So the proportionalist doesn't weigh out because sometimes are more popular than others. And
sure. And I mean, that's going to be the case whether there's a trust or not. There's just no way of getting around that. You know,
but if I've got one at 300
December of this year can tell you that.
If I've got one at 300, I've got a lot better odds than, one of 200. So that's where I'm at.
I think let's just agree to disagree on it.
I just know statistics and know the math and how many people I'm going to be competing with at 8 a.m. or even a month in advance if I'm trying to walk it, at 8 a.m. That's just more people that I'm going to be competing with, and for less resources. And it's the number of resources that I'm concerned about. But
I think the one thing that we don't know, and again, talking completely hypothetically about all this trust stuff, the one thing that we don't know is how they would split up the room inventory. Hypothetically, if 25% of Disneyland Hotel goes into a trust, are they taking 25% of every room category and just putting them in a completely separate bucket? Or is it more of a free-for-all with people competing for rooms day by day by day by day, and yet at the end of the year it all balances out so that only 25% of the points that are used are trust members? We don't know.
That would be the problem. That would be where Chad is right. If they did it that way, they would have to literally say these X number of rooms. And to your point, Tim, it is a problem because there's only two Grand Villas, right? So you can't take 25% of the Grand Villas and put them in the trust.
Sure.
And then you get into accessibility issues as well, because you've got two Grand Villas. One's accessible, one is not. So how do you start to divide a Grand Villa along those lines? I really don't think they're going to retrofit existing resorts into this. It's just too complicated. It's just too complicated and too ugly.
That could be true.
And they're going to be open up to too many class actions. So
and
I don't see that happening.
In the end, till we know what they're planning, it's all speculation. So, I think, I think we should move on to some other topics. I see one question of, do you feel these are deluxe or moderate? DVC is always going to argue that it's deluxe, but I'm sorry, you're at Fort Wilderness. This is not deluxe.
No, I make that case at Old Key West and Saratoga as well. They just don't meet my definitions of deluxe, but
No, I agree with that. Those resorts to me are moderate plus, if
Yeah.
using Disney terminology. And this to me is not even that. I mean, yes, you're gonna have hopefully a very nice cabin, but you're still gonna be out in the middle of the woods. You still have to take a golf cart to go to anywhere on the property. You have to or take a golf cart or a bus to get to the front of the property, to take a bus to get to any of the parks or Disney Springs. Your one exception is you do have a boat to Magic Kingdom, but a lot of people that stay at Fort Wilderness aren't even necessarily real Disney park goers. That a lot of them stay there because they want the experience of the fort. And I don't know. I said I wouldn't think of it. There's no way this is deluxe.
Yeah.
More than any other Disney resort, you really got to know what you're getting into with these. And there are people who love it, and God bless them. If they want that experience and to still be a 15-minute bus ride away from the Magic Kingdom, great.
Hey, more power to him, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm with you. And Jared is saying that he's with me as a Riviera. I don't want someone that isn't a pure owner in my 11 to 7 month window, especially if they have early windows at other resorts. I paid a premium for those 4 months. Kick rocks, right? And that pretty much sums it up, right? I could see a compromise coming in at 11 month and 9 month maybe, but not full 11 month everywhere. That just doesn't seem fair to me. And because it would be like, you're just going to pay the dues for this resort, and it would be the resort with the cheaper dues would sell better. Because why would you pay more if you had 11 month at multiple places? No, I don't see that happening as well. But let's go to this other comment here. So Kyvek says, with the points you're mentioning, I'm super excited to try, but I would never buy there. And I am with you. I will try my darndest to book opening day weekend to cover it and see what I can figure out and see what I can see there. But I don't know that this would be my normal Disney jam. I just don't. But I love it.
All I can say is,
okay,
we just
cabins at Copper Creek are like the second best thing they've ever built, right below the Grand Villa at Alani. Okay, I'm there. I'm down with the nature thing. I really am.
Yeah.
We talked about the resale impact of some of these things, but even the initial purchase, it's a tough sell to sort of pigeonhole yourself into this specific accommodation at 11 months, year after year after year. So it will be interesting to see how all this develops, this trust, even if it doesn't, go back and pick up Riviera and Alani and some of these other things. Could Reflections be revived and rolled into that somehow? I don't know.
I see that happening. I really truly see Reflections being revived. And I don't know if it would be part of the same condo association or what, but that would solve a lot of problems if they were to build another tower resort here with studios and the TP units like they had, or the A-frame units. So that would solve an awful lot of problems here. And I would be more comfortable buying in at that point in time because I've got more diversity of choices.
But yeah, we just went to Hoop to Do last week, and we drove there. We were staying at Bay Lake Tower, and I know there's a boat, but we had a car. So we drove there, took the bus across property to get Pioneer Hall. It was obviously in the wintertime like that, it's dark. It was 8:30. So it was dark when we got there. It was dark when we left. The whole bus ride, you can't see anything. You're on a bus for 15 minutes in the dark. And it's like, so what do you do here after dark? Because there's nothing here. And you're just at this fort and in these cabins, and there's nothing it seems crazy to me. It's like, that's not what I look for in my Disney vacation. It's not what I look for. And so I could see trying this once just to see what it is, because we are so involved with the DVC news and market and everything like that, so that have the experience of staying in it. But beyond trying it once, it's not my thing.
We have some family friends who stayed in the cabin probably about 10 years ago, and it's family with 3 kids. At the time they stayed there, the kids were probably about 9, 10, and 12. They loved it. They're outdoorsy people. It was their only visit to Walt Disney World. They didn't go into who slept on which bed and where and all that, but they've got 2 sons who I assume would have been on the pullout, and
From
maybe their
what I
daughter
gathered,
was
Tim,
in the bunk bed.
yeah, these cabins have a huge, enormous following, and you see
Sure.
a lot of comments in those people about like what we feel about a DVC room, because with the 1 bedroom, because you've got the extra elbow room, you've got the kitchen,
Right.
you've got the extra amenities that make it nicer.
Yeah.
And
But to circle back to this family real quick, now 10 years later, their kids are 19, 20, 22. So, if the option of buying into it, if that's your market with young kids to buy into this, how are they going to feel 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road when their family's much older, they've got girlfriends and wives,
Yep.
and all these things that
wives
we
and
who own at other
grandkids and the
resorts,
natural progression of families,
yeah,
right?
even at the Poly, you've got the option of connecting rooms and things like that. But 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, it's not there. So I don't know, in and of itself, I don't know what the ideal person is for the cabins long term. A couple, maybe a couple who's comfortable with it, and because they're going to be economically priced. If you're outdoorsy people and you want to do it and all that, but anytime
I think
you're
that's a
talking about
valid
a
point, Tim.
family, it feels like
Yeah.
you're inevitably going to grow out of it. And where do you go then? If you're really looking at a 50-year purchase, how are you going to justify that? Where do you see
I agree
yourself
with you
down the road?
100%. I mean,
So-
when we bought into DVC, my wife was adamant that 1 bedrooms would be plenty. And I was like, you're crazy. The kids are going to grow. They're going to need more space. They're going to date. They're going to bring significant others. They're going to the whole 9 yards. Like, and eventually there'll be grandkids. This is a 50-year contract. Like, we have to think more flexibility. So we bought in with enough points for 2 bedrooms when she was kicking and screaming saying 1. And then she said, oh, okay, yeah, I guess you were right. That was the right thing to do. And yeah, it's it really is. It's okay. And so Jared says these will have the most rental listings on the market. People will buy as a novelty and get stuck. Yes, because that'll be the only thing you can do. So you'll be booking it and renting it, and that would not be good. And Danielle asks a couple of questions here. I know certain room types are declared as points and sold, but how does it work with the cash pot? Different room types. Are certain types of room not available for cash? It's Tim, keep me honest here, but I believe it's 2% of the resort, and it's usually not grand villas that really go up on the market. From the travel agents that I've known, the grand villas don't do too well.
Yeah, most of the cash inventory that you see, available on WaltDisneyWorld.com, whatever, to rent rooms, I think it probably comes from 2 places. One would be, unsold resorts, Riviera, Disneyland Hotel, things like that. The other one would be through the exchange programs where members can use their points for cruises and Adventures by Disney and things like that. So if I own at Riviera and I want to use my points for a Disney Cruise Line trip and it costs 400 points, the way Disney makes the math work is they're going to take my 400 points. They're going to take 400 points worth of rooms at Riviera and try to sell them to cash guests. So that's
they're going to book them, take them out of
programs.
member inventory, and then they're going to list them, turn them over to their travel agents. And then the other thing that you'll see is at the 60-day mark, breakage, Tim. That any rooms
assuming
that
you have
sold,
breakage.
Yeah, assuming you have breakage. Well, all of the resorts do, to the point where we all get our minimum, according to Will's research, and that we all get the cap of the breakage income at every single resort, and they pocket the rest.
Yeah.
And so we know breakage happens to at least, the contractual limits, Disney hits that. So
Yeah, and I
we'll
think
see.
I have no idea. I'm sure they have an algorithm for how they decide studios versus 1 bedrooms versus 2 bedrooms or whatever. But I do know from the breakage, it tends to be more 1 bedrooms that are available out. If you like look at what's out there, more availability 1 bedrooms, more availability, Saratoga, Old Key West, the bigger, less popular resorts are more available. But I don't think anyone knows the specifics of how they decide what rooms go for cash and how that all gets converted. I'm sure it's not public knowledge.
Right. But it's in fairness, I think there's, over the years, I've heard sort of a natural fear voice that Disney would cherry pick rooms that would work to their benefit. Studio room, cheaper studio rooms during popular times and things like that. And I don't think there's ever been any evidence that that's the case. They seem to do a decent job of, like you said, there's 1 bedroom, 1 bedroom DVC cash rooms are not all that uncommon. And, I don't know how popular they are with cash guests, though people could use Disney itself could use them for cash upgrades and things like that.
You see a lot of studios at Saratoga as well.
Yeah.
And in the cash inventory. So we've got some more comments here coming back in on the trust system. So Edwin says, I don't know how a trust would give everyone priority at all resorts. If they have 100 points of Alani and 100 points of Fort Wilderness, they can only give 100 points of priority to Alani, not 200 priority points, unless they're all in the same trust.
Well, that's the problem with a trust is if you put a bunch of resorts in the trust, that doesn't mean that the more popular resorts aren't going to book up really fast. And now all of a sudden your only choices are to go to Alani or Fort Wilderness because everybody, let's just do the
everybody booked Disneyland because they could at 9 months or whatever the window is.
Right. So everybody, let's say you do Disneyland, Fort Wilderness, and Alani in the trust. Well, everybody wants Disneyland. So those get booked up, and now all you have as a member of the trust is the other 2. So I that's the issue I see with the trust, in that it can lead to situations where the less favorable resorts are all you can do, and I don't like that idea.
Yeah, I've thought through it a lot, and I don't know of a fair way that they could do this. But it says the resorts that are being involved in this trust are making the older original DVC resorts and contract that much more marketable, makes resale of older properties better if they put the whole resorts in. I don't know that they're going to do that. Like if you bought Riviera today, or I bought Disneyland Tower today, I don't know that my points are going to go into a trust.
They aren't. If you're a current owner at any of the resorts that are for sale, and the only thing we know for sure is that this resort is going into the trust.
Yeah,
nothing else has been nothing else has been declared into it. We're theorizing that they could put additional resorts in the trust to make it more
would be a nightmare,
palatable. But I have no interest in that. I want to know, wherever I buy, I want to know that's my resort. I can book there at 11 months. I'm not fighting with other people that own in this blanket thing. That's why I have no interest in the trust. I'd rather, even if my resort is, Saratoga or whatever, if I buy that resort, I'm buying it because I like staying there. I own most of my points are at Animal Kingdom Lodge. I'm never upset if I'm at Animal Kingdom Lodge. I don't want to have to fight with other people that own at the cabins for my Animal Kingdom slot. So I'm happy to stay with what I got.
And then Jimmy Quinn says it'll be interesting to see if DVC owners with legacy deeded points can trade into properties with the trust and vice versa. I can see Disney allowing this who bought direct. I can almost guarantee you the direct thing will happen. The resale people, no, I think they're going to tell them to kick rocks. That's part of what we sold in the resale. Although the resale restrictions are backfiring big time on them. And it really, truly is, from some inside sources that I've talked to, that they're not going over well. And maybe this trust could be a way of minimizing the resale going forward. we don't know. We really need to see more details about it coming out. And
I don't know why they just don't end it. It doesn't make sense to me. It's a terrible restriction.
yeah, your product is so popular, it has a viable market on the secondary market. Like it's your Walt Disney World, for crying out loud. You're the number one vacation spot in pretty much the world, at least in my opinion. So
yeah,
okay.
And to me, you want your resale, if you're Disney, you want your resale prices to be high, because then people are more, sorry, that was my cat. You want your resale prices to be high because people are going to look at the restrictions and go, well, why would I pay $180 on the resale market if I can get it direct? If I'm Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you want to put a restriction in that's going to lower the prices specifically of certain resorts because they're not available? And as I said, it clearly is. I think at this stage, with the fact that they didn't put it in place for the Grand Floridian and now they're not putting it in place for the Poly, they know that it hurts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They definitely. Go ahead, Tim.
I think the one interesting thing about it is the fact that for a year and a half, 2 years, we had Grand Floridian and Riviera selling simultaneously, and one with restrictions, one without. Riviera with, Grand Floridian without, and until prices almost seemed to drive where people went.
That's true.
When Riviera had a little bit better incentives, it was outselling Grand Floridian. When Grand Floridian had a little bit better incentives, it was selling more. So, from that respect, I've always wondered, we need parallel universes to really get to the bottom of it.
We need the multiverse, right?
Yeah. The one thing that I've always wondered about the restrictions is the one benefit it gives Disney is when they've got somebody in the room there, they can tell them, hey, the only way you get access to all these resorts is if you buy from me. And I don't know how popular that is. I don't know if that does a good job of turning people. We know that people, informed buyers, all of your audience and our readers and things like that,
mm-hmm.
They understand the impact. They know if I have to sell my points here, this could happen. I don't know what average Joe does. Most of the people who buy timeshares aren't going on the internet and doing a ton of research before they do it. It's historically sort of an impulse buy. So, that was the one thing that I figured, okay, maybe Disney's seeing enough good results, enough good feedback from its salespeople that when they get those people there and they can tell them, you only get access to all the resorts if you buy from me. You only get the member perks and all this stuff. If you can get this laundry list of stuff, is that enough to turn enough people? Does that get your closing rates high enough to make it worthwhile? If you've got sources that say otherwise, I'm not going to argue with that by any stretch.
Yeah. According to the people that I've talked to, there was a huge debate at Disneyland Tower whether they would put the restrictions in or not. And they ended up putting them in because they looked at it like this is our last shot at a timeshare at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Like the city of Anaheim will not grant us another one. We don't have room for it. We're fighting too many uphill battles for us to ever think we're ever going to get another one. So we might as well make hay while the sun is shining right here.
And if there's a place where it's not going to hurt them, it's there. Because
correct.
We've all seen what happened with Grand Californian. And
nobody buys Grand
Californian
Californian
and all that.
Yeah, nobody buys Grand Californian to network it.
Right.
No.
So you don't have to worry about the resale value of that, certainly compared to Riviera.
And there's enough worlders who want to pick up a resale contract to get an 11-month advantage in Disneyland, especially if you have small contracts. So that's kind of.
I agree that there it won't matter, but as I said, I don't see how it doesn't affect Fort Wilderness for savvy buyers. For savvy buyers.
Yeah. To go, hey, I'm going to resell this, and this is the only place. But that's what I think the trust is going to solve. I think that's the problem.
You would think your prototypical cabin fan this hypothetical person we're talking to who loves the cabins and is already as a cash guest coming back frequently, they're going to be on the more savvy end of the spectrum, and they're going to ask questions like, what's going to happen to my value if I have to sell this?
Yeah. Yeah. It really truly is. So, okay, we're going to pick up a couple more comments here and then wrap up today's show. So Jared says, would it be possible if they could restrict trust points only to the resorts in the trust? I believe that will happen.
Yeah, so they would only be whatever points they put in the trust. Those are the only ones you would have access to ahead of the 7-month window.
Yeah.
I think
Or
at the 7-month, I think at the 7-month window, it still opens you up to everything.
If you're direct, if you're resale, I think you're only booking the resorts in the trust at any window.
Yes. If you're if you were resale, and again, we're doing this all theoretically, but that's theoretically part of why we think they're doing the trust, so that if you
they
buy
can
a
soften the
wilderness
resale restrictions a little bit. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Edwin says, wouldn't the resale restrictions only affect the trust because the trust owns all the points? Yes, that's kind of what we're concluding here as well. To affect the normal owner, they wouldn't have access to the resale restrictions on the trust. So yeah, I think they're going to continue. If you've bought direct, you can book anywhere. That would be a huge mistake if they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But okay. Well, I think we've pretty much wrapped up today's show. So, Peter, thank you for joining us as always and sharing your insight, your knowledge. We look forward to your developments over at dvchelp.com as you build out your wiki over there. Tim, the research, the articles, on behalf of the whole DVC community, thank you for your decade plus of commitment to our community, sir. So we are all indebted to you as informed and educated DVC buyers, because we've all relied on your hard work over the last, it's been 10 years, hasn't it?
It's going on 17.
17 years.
Wow.
I stand corrected. So yeah, it's been an awful long time. And I think if you want to hear more of Tim's story, you can go to mydvcpoints.com/038. We did an interview with him on episode 38, way back when. So, or you can just find his name in the speaker section and just search for his name on our site. And I think you've joined us on a couple of other shows, which we're always welcome here, Tim. And we're always glad to have you collaborating and communicating with us as well. So that wraps up today's show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Huge shout out of thanks to all of our sponsors at World of DVC, including DVC Resale Market, DVC Rental Store, and Monera Financial. If you do business with them, please let them know you heard about them here on our show, as that's the number one way that they know that their advertising dollars are being effective for them. And I appreciate it greatly. I think the rest of the team does as well. And a huge shout out of thanks to our Patreon supporters as well over at patreon.com/mydvcpoints. Hopefully you learned something in today's show, or at least got you asking some better questions, because we know we were speculating a lot in today's show. We don't really like doing that. We like presenting DVC facts and news and verified information. And today's topic just took us down that rabbit hole. So tune in for more accurate content from all three of us, because it is really on brand for us to do that. And speculative shows and rumor shows are really not our forte here. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will catch you on the next one. Have a great night. Good night,
everybody.
Bye-bye.